My mother-in-law, Vivian, stayed with me for 7 years. I won't say that she was a big nuisance in the beginning. We had a decent relationship for most of the 7 years she was in my house. Yes, I owned the house that I and my husband Xander lived in. Vivian had moved in when she lost her job. She said to us, "If you let me stay with you, I can help you with your kids when you have them. I know that you're planning to have kids now. That would actually be very helpful, Vivian. Sandra and I both will go back to work after having kids, so we need someone to take care of our kids." "I can be that person, Maya. I am good with kids and won't even take money. Consider it a thank you for keeping me in your house rent-free." "That's a great arrangement, Mom. I think we will be happy to have you help out." That was the arrangement when Vivian moved in with us. We agreed to support her and pay for all her expenses. In return, she promised to take care of our kids. We were already planning to have kids back then, so it all seemed like a good idea. Unfortunately for us, we didn't know just how Vivian wanted to take advantage of us. 7 years passed before we were able to have kids. I found out that I had fertility issues. I got pregnant twice but lost the child mid-term. It was one of the darkest periods of my life. Vivian was of no help during this time. She criticized me a lot and told me that I was doing something wrong to lose children like that. It hurt a lot, but I was too down in the dumps to do anything about her. Vivian stayed and I just dealt with it. Finally, after 7 years of trying, we had our rainbow baby. My son was born healthy and we were all over the moon. But Vivian wasn't that happy. Initially, she showed a lot of interest and happiness, but as my pregnancy progressed, she started to get controlling and yelled at me when I didn't do things her way. Mind you, I was following the doctor's instructions to the T, but she wasn't having it. She acted like a know-it-all and spoiled a lot of precious moments in my pregnancy. As a result, our relationship also became strained. Still, I kept her around because I wanted to give her a fair chance. However, Vivian kept escalating her antics and tried to parent my son differently. She was so overwhelmed that Xandra and I had to sit her down and tell her to back off. She didn't take that well and started to form her own plans. I was still at home with my newborn when she approached me with a ridiculous demand. She said, "I need to talk about something, Maya. There is going to be a change of plans here." "What do you want to change now, Vivian?" "A lot of things should be changed in this house now that you have a child. But anyway, you consider yourself a modern woman, so I know you wouldn't listen to me. But I will put my foot down on a few things." "Oh, really, Vivian? Tell me what you're going to put your foot down on." "I won't be taken advantage of anymore, Maya. I won't let you use me again." "And how am I taking advantage of you? I'm very confused right now, so you need to cough up whatever is on your mind." "Well, since you don't take my advice on how to raise your son, he doesn't feel like a grandchild to me anymore. So when I look after him, it can be considered babysitting. Since I am not going to babysit any kid for free, you need to pay up." It took me a while to figure out what my stupid mother-in-law was talking about. When I finally realized that she expected me to pay her for babysitting my child, I was honestly in shock. First of all, it was always agreed that Vivian would babysit my child for free. I mean, that's the arrangement she had when she and my husband talked about letting her move in with me. But now she was telling me that I needed to pay up. What was more concerning was her comment on my son not being her grandchild. Vivian said that she didn't consider my child to be her grandchild since I was not raising him on her advice. I said, "Let me get this straight, Vivian. Did you just say that you don't see my son as your grandchild anymore?" "Well, he is my son's child, but what relationship does he have with me when I don't even get to have a say in how he's raised?" "You are not the mother or the father, Vivian. You don't get a say in our parenting decisions." "No, apparently I'm only good for looking after the child according to your terms when you are off to work. Sounds exactly like I'm a babysitter here. I won't let you make me work for free, Maya." So Vivian has no problems mooching off of people and living with them for free, but God forbid they ask her to look after her own grandchild for free. She just wouldn't let anyone take advantage of her. I wonder who's taking advantage of who in that situation. But anyway, I was already in a bad mood and wanted to just end this drama as soon as possible. I decided to hear her out and see how much money she wanted. I said, "So you want me to pay you babysitting fees?" "Yes, I asked around and I figured out how much I should be paid for my services." "How much do you want, Maya?" "I did the maths to make sure you don't make me work for less, and by my calculations, you will pay me about $10,000 a month." Guys, she literally said that she wanted me to pay her $10,000 a month. I was seriously shocked and felt my eyes go wide. Can you imagine paying $10,000 for babysitting a newborn kid? Mind you, guys, there was literally one kid and no one else. She was charging so much for one kid, it was just bizarre. I was gobsmacked as Vivian went on a rant about how she Googled prices on the internet and saw that people paid $30 per hour for babysitting. Vivian also said that people with experience and expertise charge way more, so she deserves some incentives too. Guys, this woman literally doesn't have experience in babysitting. Vivian used that line because she's older and raised a son. That's it. Somehow she thought it made sense for her to ask $10,000 for babysitting her own grandchild. I was actually considering giving her some money to get off my back, but this woman was asking way more than what's normal. Vivian was acting like her logic made a lot of sense and I would just hand over the cash to her as she wanted. But I wasn't going to do that. I actually raised my voice a little and said, "You must be truly delusional if you think I would give you so much money for just babysitting. You need to give me money if you expect me to look after your child. My services are not for free." "This is literally your own grandchild, Vivian." "So what, Maya? I told you I don't consider him my grandchild anymore. You need to stop paying me because I won't look after your kid for free anymore." Is that really your final answer? Think again, because I am not giving you $10,000 for just babysitting. Take it or leave it, Maya. You can find another babysitter if you will. I won't be your free labor anymore. Okay then, let me think about it. Come to me when you have made a decision, Maya. Vivian said that and walked away. I actually had to sit down a little to understand what was going on. My mother-in-law, who lived in my house for free, was actually asking me for money to babysit her own grandchild. It was just bizarre. What made things worse was that she moved into the house under the guise of helping me with my child. But now she was even refusing to think of my son as her grandchild. All of this was because I wasn't following her directions in parenting my newborn. As Vivian's words started to sink into my brain, I started to get really angry. A lot of things were going through my head, and most of them were things I should yell at Vivian for being such a moocher. She was really taking advantage of me and my husband. I thought about what I should do and came to a conclusion. Don't worry, there was no way I was paying her $10,000 for watching my child. I would rather leave him in daycare or quit my job to stay at home until he's old enough to join daycare. There is no way I would give Vivian $10,000 on top of hosting her for free and paying for her utilities. I am not made of money, and neither is my husband. I made a preliminary decision on this issue and waited for my husband to come home. When Xander came home from work, I immediately told him what his crazy mother told me. He listened to what I said and was as surprised as I was when Vivian told me what she wanted. Xander actually sat down too, out of shock, and said, "Something is horribly wrong with her if she thinks we will shell out $10,000 for her." This is insane, Xander. Your mother has been living rent-free in my house for 7 years. She doesn't pay for anything and instead wants us to give her money. She is truly delusional if she thinks we will do what she wants. We kept her here because she wanted to look after our child. That's what I thought, Xander. She said that herself, and now she is refusing to consider our son her grandchild. Since I'm not taking advice from her, he isn't her grandchild anymore. I am beyond frustrated at this point, Xander. We need to do something. I agree with you, Maya. Mom has been acting really weird since we had the baby. I guess now that we finally had a child, she has realized that she doesn't want to take care of a kid for free. And she said that she doesn't consider our son her grandchild. That crossed a big line in the first place. Something needs to be done, Xander. Xander actually agreed with everything I said. He was furious, just like I was. We have been bearing her burden for years, only to be met with hostility and demands for money when we asked for one favor. We were tired of being taken advantage of by Vivian. It was truly time to do something about this problem. I was going back to work soon, so a decision needed to be made immediately. After having a long discussion with my husband, we both agreed on our plan of action. We approached Vivian after a week and sat her down to talk. She looked all smug, probably thinking that we had given in to her stupid demands. She said in a chirpy voice, "Well, have you decided on what you want to do? I mean, I need an advance and 1 week notice before starting my babysitting duties." Mom, will you really take money to babysit your own grandchild? This is really ridiculous. Of course I will take money, Xander. If you wanted me to work for free, you should have made your stupid wife listen to my advice. You have no right to tell me how to parent my child. Your son and I had both set this hard boundary a long time ago. You never should have entertained any other thoughts. I came to you with an alternative, didn't I? I won't tell you to be a parent, and you can pay me money to babysit your child. Simple and easy. Okay then, if that's what you got to say, you leave me no other choice. I took out my phone and quickly sent Vivian an email. I had already drafted this email in the morning and was waiting for my husband to get home from work before I sent it to my mother-in-law. Xander wanted to talk to his mom once before proceeding with the plan. I guess he was hoping this was all a joke and his mother wasn't as entitled as she was proving to be. But Vivian was adamant about her stance and confirmed that she was a money-hungry leech. So he just sat there and sighed while I did what I should have done a long time ago. I sent Vivian the document and asked her to check her phone. She happily opened the message, expecting it to be an advance payment or something. But as she started to read the document, her eyes went wide and her mouth hung open. She looked at us and said, What is this?" "Can't you read simple English, Vivian? It's an invoice." "What are you talking about, Maya?" Why would you send me an invoice for anything? Why does it say I owe you $250,000? Since you are too lazy to even read an email, let me tell you what this is about. This is an invoice for the rent money that you owe me for the last 7 years. The look of shock and fear on Vivian's face was absolutely amazing. She was literally looking like a deer caught in headlights. She froze on her spot and all her smug attitude was gone in the blink of an eye. What are you saying, Maya? Why would I pay your rent and bills? We never agreed on paying rent. We also never agreed to pay you for babysitting our child. But here you are, asking for money. So, if you want to get paid, you need to clear your rent payment first. This is ridiculous. You never talked about rent before. I won't pay you anything. We never talked about rent because you offered to look after our kid in exchange for not paying rent. So, pay up, and we will start paying you money for your babysitting services. Vivian now knew that she had been caught. I had meticulously printed out an invoice that showed my mother-in-law how much money she owed me in rent and other bills. I took into consideration a lot of things like market rate, grocery bills, electricity bills, etc., and made her an invoice. It was very detailed, and I actually spent a lot of time making it. I was at home, so I had plenty of time anyway. I even ran it through Xander, and he thought that the prices I put up were fair. Vivian had no place to complain about that. She was just surprised that I would ask her to pay me rent. She looked all offended and said, "I am not giving you a single cent. I never agreed to this. Xander, what is this madness? Has your wife gone crazy after giving birth?" "Don't talk about her that way, Mom. My wife has done nothing wrong. She pointed out a very reasonable rate for your upkeep in our house." "You are taking your greedy wife's side too, Xander. This is really unfair. I never agreed to pay rent." "You moved in here to babysit our kid in the first place. Now that you have gone back on your word, we can go back on our word too." Okay, fine, you win. I will look after your stupid child for free. I can't believe you would go to these lengths to make me work like a slave. Vivian thought that her remarks were going to make us feel guilty for making her work for free. She huffed and puffed and finally agreed to babysit our son for free. But I knew better than to trust Vivian with my son when she didn't even consider him her grandchild. Not to mention that she had just called my child stupid. She had agreed to babysit for free only when she was caught in a trap. Now she was backtracking, but still showing her irritation towards us because she wanted to guilt us. Unfortunately for her, it had the completely opposite effect on us. I actually smirked at her and said, "You know what, Vivian? You don't have to babysit our son. I will leave him in daycare once he's older." "So now you have decided that you won't need my services anymore? Good for you, Maya. Looks like you do have some shame." "Yeah, I don't really want to leave my son with someone who isn't interested in watching him for free, so I will be placing him in daycare. Maybe I'll hire a babysitter as well." "Whatever, as long as I don't have to look after your child, I'm good." "You will change your mind after what I say next, Vivian. Now, since I will be placing my son in daycare, we don't need you around the house anymore, so you will need to move out within a week." I watched as Vivian's face turned red in shock. She looked at me open-mouthed as soon as I finished saying those words. She stood up and turned to me so fast that I was surprised she didn't get a whiplash. She was visibly in distress, but turning red. I didn't know whether that was from anger or embarrassment. She sounded pretty offended and said, "How dare you say that, Maya? Just because I refuse to be a free babysitter, you can't kick me out." "You are not a babysitter, and you are not a grandma out of your own accord. So I don't see why I should host you and feed you for free anymore. What is that supposed to mean? You agreed to let me stay here. And you have outstayed your welcome, Vivian. You also refused to adhere to your promises, so now I think it's time for you to go. Vivian was now shaking with anger and fear. She knew well that if I threw her out, she would have nowhere to go. At least not in the city. She was a little scared, but tried to cover it up. I believe she was trying to look authoritative, to pretend that she had the power. She turned to my husband when she saw that I wasn't budging. She pointed a finger at me and said to Xander, "Will you allow your wife to kick me out, Xander?" "I'm no one to stop my wife, Mom. This house is hers, and only she gets to decide who stays here." "But you are her husband, so this house is yours as well. She is bound to let me stay here if you ask her." "Well, here's the problem, Mom. I don't want to ask her to let you stay." Vivian had clearly turned to someone who wasn't even on her side. Xander was completely on my side. He isn't one of those mama's boys who get all sentimental over their mothers and ignore all the red flags. He is a true family man and would always put his wife and child first, as long as they are in the right. He understood the situation well and took my side in this. Vivian couldn't believe this and said, "What? You want to kick me out too?" "That's right, Mom. You have lied to us and taken advantage of us for 7 years. We took over all of your responsibilities and you refused to do the one thing you had promised to do. So now I don't see why we should have you around anymore." "I already told you that I will babysit your son for free. I don't know what the problem is." "The problem is that we didn't feel comfortable leaving our son with you anymore. The way you talk about him and refuse to call him your grandson is a big red flag. We can't oversee that, so we have no choice but to do this." At this point, Vivian knew that no one would be able to help her. She started to backtrack and say that we were overreacting and this wasn't okay. We didn't listen to her because she wasn't making good points anyway. Sandra and I were both exhausted from wasting money on her and didn't want to do it anymore. She had misused our trust and generosity, so we ignored her and went about our way. The next morning, Vivian was doing her best to be all sweet with us, but we ignored those attempts as well. At night, I gently reminded her about moving out within a week, and that's when she started to cry and said, "Will you really kick me out? A poor old woman who had nowhere to go?" "You are not a poor old woman, Vivian. I'm pretty sure you can earn enough money by babysitting someone else's kid." "Please don't hold that against me, Maya. I'm willing to look after my grandchild." "You made it clear that you don't consider him your grandchild anymore, so I don't see how this will work." "There is no point in making excuses, Vivian. I am not going to host you anymore. We are done here." My mother-in-law cried and begged me not to kick her out. She was at it for days until I was forced to threaten to call the cops on her. That got her scared and she started to pack. One of her sisters offered to keep her if she got a job, so she was forced to leave the city and move in with her. She wanted to live a life of luxury and not pay for a thing in her life, but she ended up shooting herself in the foot and lost that one place where she was living for free. It's been a long time since I've gone back to work. My son has stayed with me since I was able to quit my job to look after him. With one less mouth to feed after Vivian left, we have the means for me to be a stay-at-home mother. I'm actually enjoying my time with my baby and think this was the best outcome ever. Meanwhile, Vivian has called us to cry about how her sister doesn't treat her well and makes her contribute to chores. She wants to be with us, and you can bet your money that I and my husband have said no and will never allow her back in our house again. I'm Heather, and this story is about my mother-in-law, Olivia. At the time when this entire thing happened, I wasn't married to Mason. I was in a relationship with him and later got engaged to him. Olivia hated me from the very beginning and told Mason that she didn't want to see my face. Why? Because I grew up in a trailer home while they came from a fairly wealthy family. Mason was actually running his family business, so he was pretty loaded. We met in college and fell in love, and it was true that I didn't grow up in a decent home, but my parents had taught me well and encouraged me to get out of that mess. I landed a good scholarship and worked my butt off to make sure I don't have student loans. I succeeded in life and landed a great job after college. Sadly, my parents didn't get to see that because they had already passed away. Mason had become my family when we started to date. I was really happy with him because, unlike others, he never judged me for my background. He was a kind, loving man, and I was so excited to meet his family. But I knew his mother, Olivia, didn't like me. So Mason didn't want me to meet her so soon. We ended up moving in together after 3 years and started our life in the new home. When Olivia came to visit Mason, she was shocked and angry to see me there. She said, "What is she doing here?" "She lives with me, Mom. We stay together now." "No, absolutely not, Mason. That woman needs to go. What were you even thinking of moving in with her? I let you have fun with her, but that is it. I cannot accept your relationship, and you need to end it right now." "Well, you will have to accept it because she will be your daughter-in-law soon." "You can't be serious. She can't be our daughter-in-law, Mason." "What? Why, what's the matter, Mom?" "What's wrong, Mason? Are you really asking me what's wrong? This woman actually belongs with trash. She is not suitable for a high-class family like us." "Why are you being so classist, Mom? Heather is a great woman and anyone would be happy to have her." "I don't think anyone would be happy to have a gold digger as a wife, Mason. You should have known better than to get with trailer trash." I was taken aback and super offended by Olivia's words. She was straight up calling me trailer trash. It brought me back to my childhood when kids refused to play with me because their parents said that I wasn't on their level. I was subjected to relentless bullying because my parents couldn't afford to live in a good house. It also took me back to college where everyone would look down on me for being dirt poor. Olivia made me feel those nasty feelings again that I didn't want to feel anymore. So I stepped into the conversation and said, "With all due respect, Olivia, I might have grown up in the trailers, but I am much more than that. I have a respectable job and have done pretty well for myself. I don't know why you're trying to paint me as a homeless woman." "I am not talking to you, Heather. I don't like wasting my time addressing people beneath my status. My discussion is with Mason, so you need to keep your mouth shut." "That is no way to talk to my future wife, Mom. No matter what you do or say, she will be the one I marry. You cannot stop me." "You are making a big mistake, son. You need to listen to me and leave her. I can get you someone much better than this trash of a woman." "That is enough, Mom. You are still standing here and standing because you are my mother. If this was someone else insulting Heather, I would have done something stupid by now. You need to stop before I lose my patience." "Oh my God, Mason. I can't even recognize you anymore. Are you really my son? How can you threaten your mother for a cheap woman? I can't believe this." "You better get used to this, Mom. Heather will be my wife, and I won't think twice before putting you in your place. Either you accept her as your daughter-in-law or keep your mouth shut. Insulting my future wife is not an option." Olivia looked shocked and was red in the face from shame and anger. She really couldn't believe that her own son was defending me against her. She tried to make him take her side. Mason was adamant that he didn't want to hear any of her dumb logic. I just stood there with tears in my eyes because the past came rushing back to my brain. Mason had noticed that and got rid of his mother as soon as he could. Once she was gone, he held me and said, "I am so sorry, Heather. I had no idea she would react this badly to us living together." Her words really hurt Mason. "I know that I'm not worthy of you, but I'm doing my best to make up for my rough upbringing." "Don't ever say that again, Heather. You are absolutely worthy of much more than me. I'm lucky that I have such an amazing partner like you. I'm serious about what I told my mother. I am going to marry you very soon." But your mother doesn't want you to be with me, Mason. She hates me. This will just spoil your relationship." "I already know that's a possibility, Heather, but don't worry, it won't be a problem for me. My mom is a nasty woman and I can't support her or give in to her demands with a clear conscience." "You would really do that for me, Mason?" "Yup, that's what I would do. Besides, I love you, and she should value that over her one prejudice. If she really loves me so much, she would consider her happiness over her horrible thinking." I was glad to have Mason on my side. His mother might be a nasty woman, but at least Mason was a nice man. I was willing to deal with Olivia for Mason's sake, but I also wasn't a doormat. I was prepared to make a stand for myself if Olivia stepped out of line when Mason wasn't there to defend me. I realized that I need to work on my self-confidence and stand up for myself. People like Olivia would always judge and walk all over me if I wasn't mentally strong. So I also ended up joining therapy to deal with people like her. A few months passed, and Olivia kept begging Mason to break up with me. She was absolutely a cruel woman who couldn't look above her high status. What was funny was that even though she was quite educated and came from a rich family, her thoughts were cheap. But she thought I was the cheap one because I couldn't help but be born to poor parents. Anyway, Mason dealt with her quite well, and she didn't bother me for a few months. Her antics started back up again when Mason and I announced our engagement online. Yes, he had proposed to me and given me the ring of my dreams. It was perfect and even had our names engraved inside the band. He had taken me on my favorite hiking trail and proposed to me with a few friends around. It was truly a magical experience for me. But when we finally announced our engagement, all hell broke loose. Olivia actually personally texted me to say, "You think you'll snatch my son away and I won't do anything about it? Think again, Heather." "I don't understand why you're being so prejudiced, Olivia. Can't you see that I make your son very happy? I don't care how you have managed to trick my son. I will never support this engagement because you don't belong in our prestigious family. You better move away from my son on your own, or there would be consequences." Bring it on, Olivia. I tried to be nice to you despite your horrible thinking. You showered me with insults. But I kept quiet because I didn't want to destroy your relationship with Mason. But now, I will not remain quiet and let you disrespect me. Oh, I will see what you can do, Heather. You are nothing but a worthless gold digger. I won't let my son fall into your trap. I will get the family involved as well. Let's see what happens when no one is on your side. Olivia kept her promise and started to get family members involved. She told various family members that I was a gold digger and had sunk my claws into Mason. She also said I was immoral and my family was a bunch of imbeciles. She spread a lot of nasty rumors about me, and I got a variety of hate messages from family members. Not everyone believes her, though. The people who have met me and know me personally actually helped me and Mason restore my reputation. Still, a few family members told Mason that they wouldn't support our marriage or come to the wedding. Mason and I were a mess dealing with Olivia's horrible ways. We got so fed up with Olivia that we ended up not inviting her to our engagement party. It was a tough decision, but we made it after a lot of discussions. Mason and I agreed that we could not let Olivia destroy our engagement party too. So we avoided inviting her altogether. It didn't take her long to find out. In a twist of events, Olivia actually called Mason and told him that she wanted to come. Mason had put her on loudspeaker, so I heard what she told him. Olivia said, "I didn't get an invite to your engagement party, Mason. When will I get it?" "You're not getting an invite, Mom." "What are you talking about, Mason? It's your engagement party and you won't even invite me?" "No, I won't invite you because you've been nothing but cruel to my fiancé. Why do you want to attend anyway, since you were so against my engagement and marriage?" "Look, Mason, I'm sorry, okay? I want to be there for you because this is an important milestone in your life. Maybe I overreacted and wasn't thinking straight." "Well, you made a big mistake, Mom. It is hard for us to look past it." "Can't you give me a chance? I will try to be civil at the party. Since you have decided to marry her anyway, it's not like I can stop you. I want to make peace. Please let me come to the party." "I will discuss this with my fiancé and tell you our decision, Mom. She is the victim here, so I need her approval before I do anything." "Very well, Mason, if that's what you want. I will wait for your answer. Please don't let me down. I'm willing to have a cordial relationship with Heather. Consider that when you make your decision." After Olivia hung up on Mason, we talked about it in detail. I was a little skeptical about inviting Olivia, and so was Mason, but we ultimately decided to send her an invite. Look, she said that she was willing to be cordial, and we didn't want to deny her this chance. We could always rethink our stance if she messed up. It was our duty to give her at least one chance and see if she was willing to change. With that logic in mind, Mason and I agreed to have Olivia at the party. At that time, I had no idea about the drama that was waiting for me at the party. We sent my soon-to-be mother-in-law an invite, and she expressed her gratitude to Mason for giving her a chance. She was acting like a changed woman and even stopped spreading rumors for a while. However, that was probably because she was afraid of the backlash that she was getting. Only a few people were on her side, so she didn't want to face the heat from others. So she stopped spreading nasty lies about me. I won't say that she suddenly started to say good things about me, because she didn't, but I was glad Olivia was keeping her mouth shut so that she wouldn't ruin my reputation anymore. On the day of the engagement party, I was actually pretty excited to have our family and friends around. Everyone we invited had made time to attend, and I was glad that they could make it. Mason was also super happy about our engagement, and together we were having a good time. Olivia was there, but she was mostly ignoring me, sitting in the corner and giving me nasty looks. Her face had soured the moment she had spotted my engagement ring. Anyway, I ignored her and was busy attending to my guests. Meanwhile, Olivia was fuming and making plans to get back at me. Olivia got the opportunity to corner me when I went out the back door of the venue. I was trying to make a phone call because I couldn't hear anything inside the venue. When the call was done, I saw Olivia waiting for me. I said, "What are you doing here, Olivia? Do you want something?" "I came to talk to you alone." "Okay, what do you want to talk about?" Olivia silently took my hand and held it up to study my engagement ring. She looked at it with envy and said in an acidic voice, "You are over the moon, aren't you, Heather? My son has spared no expense when it comes to the engagement ring. It is truly beautiful." "Thank you, Olivia. It is a beautiful piece and I love it. Mason even engraved our name inside the band." "He is smitten with you. I don't know what he sees in you. I'm sure you have tricked him into marrying him somehow." You promised to have a cordial relationship with me, Olivia. Your words say otherwise. You need to stop being condescending. I will do whatever I want. I told you, Heather, you will suffer for taking away my son and keeping him in your filthy clutches. You love this engagement ring, don't you? Well, you don't deserve it. I could tell that Olivia was going crazy again. I felt really unsafe around her and tried to remove my hand from hers. But she held on painfully tight and in a swift motion got my engagement ring off my finger. The ring was a little loose and I didn't get the time to resize it, so it came right off when Olivia pulled it off my finger. Then she left my hand and tossed the ring in the dump. There was a big dumpster at the back of the venue which had a ton of food waste from the food that was being prepared for my guests. I frantically went to look into the dumpster and there was no sign of the ring. It had probably sunk into the food waste and lost to the eye. I started to get tears in my eyes when I couldn't find my engagement ring. Behind me, Olivia was laughing and said, "Oh my God, you look pathetic bending over the dumpster like that. But I must say that it suits you." "Why did you do this, Olivia? What is wrong with you?" "You don't deserve such an expensive engagement ring. Having the ring on your finger is as good as throwing it in the dump." "It wasn't some random ring, Olivia. It was my freaking engagement ring. You threw it away for nothing. How will I find it now?" "It's not my problem, Heather. Maybe you can dumpster dive. I'm sure you are already familiar with it. It won't be a problem with you." I was frantically looking for the ring as Olivia continued to laugh at me. I was crying tears of sadness while using my phone as a flashlight to look for the ring. I felt very helpless at the moment, and that's when I saw Mason coming up from the front with a worried look in his eyes. I was gone for a while, so I guess he came looking for me. Olivia had her back turned to him, so she didn't see me. I didn't bother telling her as she laughed and made fun of me. She said, "Good luck trying to find your ring, Heather. Looks like it's lost for good." "You have no idea what you've done, Olivia." "I had warned you and told you not to mess with me. You should have listened to me, but you decided to get engaged to my son anyway. I just did what I had promised. Now you won't get your precious ring back." "Is that so, Mom?" Olivia froze as Mason said this in a very angry voice. She immediately knew she had messed up. Olivia was so overcome with anger and maybe jealousy that she didn't think twice before doing something extremely stupid. She had forgotten the fact that Mason was on my side and he wouldn't let this incident slide. When she heard Mason's voice, she froze and suddenly remembered that her son wasn't going to take her crappy actions lightly. She turned around slowly to face a very angry Mason and said, "Mason, You just what, Mom? Did you think it would be a good idea to throw my fiancé's engagement ring in the dumpster?" I wasn't thinking, Mason. I'm sorry. I was a little frustrated and I snapped." "You are sorry, Mother? Then explain to me why you kept saying horrible things to my fiancé and laughing at her when she was frantically trying to find the ring." I'm sorry, Mason. I'm sorry." Olivia was a scaredy cat when it came to her son. When Mason talked to her in a hard voice and confronted her directly, she burst into tears and started to sob. I was also sobbing, looking for my ring, but Mason stood beside me and brought me away from the dumpster. He then looked at his mother and said, "Find the ring and get it out of the dumpster, Mom." "What? You want me to find the ring?" "Are you deaf, Mom? Do I really have to repeat myself again? Get the ring out of the dumpster." "No, I can't do that. I can't touch trash. My dress and jewelry would be dirty. I'm not a trash-picking woman. It's Heather's ring, so she can go get it. You threw the ring into the dumpster, so you will retrieve it." "That is impossible, Mason. I can't believe you would tell your mother to look through the trash. I have a status, Mason. You can expect me to do this?" You will do this or we are done, Mom. I will remove you from my life forever. Do you want that to happen, Mom? Olivia looked horrified when Mason told her to get my ring out of the dump. I was surprised at Mason's demand as well. It was a good punishment, to be honest, but I wasn't expecting him to be so adamant about it. Olivia was refusing to dive into the dumpster because of her prestigious name or something. It didn't matter to her that she was the one who threw my ring in the dumpster. She was just not willing to get it back. But when Mason threatened to cut her off from his life, she was shocked. She panicked and said, "You can't be serious, Mason. You can't just cut me off for a stupid ring." "You know that I do what I say, Mom. Don't test my patience." "You can't expect your mother to dive into the dumpster, Mason." "You will get the ring back or you will never be in my life again, Mom. This is your last chance to make a choice." Mason was super angry and his tone gave it away. Olivia tried to beg and plead with Mason not to make her do this. A few people came out and told Olivia that she needed to do what he said. She had been cornered and no one was on her side. She tried to make Mason show her mercy, but when she realized how serious he was, she reluctantly stepped into the dumpster to get my ring. It was funny to see her expensive dress and heels covered in garbage as she cried and tried to find the ring. After 45 minutes, she found the ring and got out of the garbage bin. Mason then made her wash it before handing it to me. I was elated to get my ring back and didn't care what happened to Olivia next. I already had fun seeing her dumpster dive after calling me trash. It was truly satisfying. But more karma was in store for Olivia. Olivia was crying and telling Mason how unfair he had been towards her. That was when Mason looked her dead in the eye and said, "I don't care what you think, Mom. I did what I had to do to make sure my future wife was respected." "You were willing to destroy your relationship with your mother over a stupid girl, Mason? How could you ever think that?" "I wasn't just thinking that, Mom. That's what I am going to do." "Wait, what? What do you mean?" "I'm disowning you, Mom. I don't want you in my life anymore." No, you can't do that. You promised you wouldn't do it if I got the ring back." "Well, you too said that you would have a cordial relationship with Heather if I invited you to the party. You didn't keep your word, so why should I?" Olivia was shocked when Mason threw her own actions back in her face. At this point, she had truly realized that she had messed up. She cried loudly and tried to hold Mason's hand. She was begging him to forgive her and not cut her off. Mason remained cold and even moved away from her. Olivia begged and begged, but nothing moved Mason. Then she turned to me and tried to beg me for forgiveness. I laughed when she said, "I'm sorry, Heather. I swear I won't do this again. Please tell Mason to forgive me. I know you are a great girl and will give me a chance." "You already got a chance from me and you blew it, Olivia. I'm not going to give you another. You deserve this." "How can you say that, Heather? I'm about to lose my precious son because of you." "These are the consequences of your own actions, Olivia. Remember how you were so happy that I lost my precious ring and couldn't get it back? Well, now you will lose your precious son, and this is all your fault," I said, and went back inside the venue with Mason and everyone. Olivia stayed outside because Mason had kicked her out of the party and told her that if she didn't leave, he would get the security involved. That was the last time I saw Olivia because Mason, my now husband, kept his word and disowned her completely. Hello guys, I'm Megan. Do your husbands have one of their annoying girl best friends? People who have answered yes to that question may actually relate to my story to some extent. While I can't say if my husband Greg was in love with his best friend Cindy, I can say that she had a special place in his heart. I'm not one of those overly jealous kinds of people, but I do get mad when people stomp my boundaries. Cindy was one boundary stomping girl, and sadly my husband didn't know any better. Greg and Cindy were always close, and he used to hype her up a lot when he was with me. I thought that maybe she was truly a great girl, and I was really looking forward to meeting her. As I said, guys, I'm not a jealous person, but when I met Cindy at a party and she told me something weird, I was immediately on the alert. She said, "Don't think your relationship is going to last, Megan." "Why do you say that, Cindy?" "I need to make something very clear to you, Megan. Greg is first mine, and then anyone else's. He will always put me first. I don't think you'll be able to handle that." If Greg respects my boundaries and so do you, I don't see how it can be a problem. You do seem to be very sure of yourself, Megan. Let's see what you can do. One thing is for sure, Greg will always be mine. You can't do anything to take him away from me. After that day, I maintained my distance from her. Cindy and Greg were close, but after she met me, Cindy started to actively hang out with Greg even more. She was also an attention seeker and often called Greg for stupid things, especially when he was spending time with me. Greg, to my annoyance, always rushed to her no matter how small the reason was. I can't tell you how many dates I had sacrificed for her sake. Eventually, Greg and I got married, but the Cindy problem never stopped. I often tried to make Greg minimize contact with her and set boundaries. I said, "You need to stop rushing to Cindy whenever she calls you Greg. It is really weird how you drop everything for her, including me." "I'm sorry you feel disrespected, Megan. What can I say? She's my best friend. She doesn't have any family around. I'm the only one she has." "In that case, she needs to find more friends, Greg. She keeps making you cancel things with me, even for the smallest inconveniences. This can't go on, Greg." Okay, I get it, Megan. I'll talk to her and do better. Don't worry. I won't cancel on you or abandon you again." Greg was always good with his words, but not good at keeping them. He made me countless promises of setting boundaries with Cindy, but he never ended up doing it. Nothing changed, and Cindy continued to be a problem for us. 2 years passed, and still I saw no change in Greg or Cindy's behavior. Slowly, my anger had shifted from Cindy to Greg. He was being a bad husband and dropping me every time Cindy wanted his attention. He even abandoned me on dates to go and help her. We constantly fought about it, but again, nothing changed. At one point, I felt like I was going crazy. I started to doubt myself, and I was worried if I was the one with the problem. But my mother-in-law, Lisa, also noticed Greg's behavior and agreed with me. She might be Greg's mother, but Lisa has been an absolute gem to me. I lost my mother when I was a teen. Being with Lisa reminded me a lot of her. Lisa also tried to talk to Greg, but that didn't help either. At least I knew I wasn't crazy and someone was on my side. Things took a drastic turn for me one day. I had gone 2 cities over for a conference and was supposed to come back home by train. I had to take the last train home and needed to be picked up by Greg because it was unsafe that late at night. My train arrived at the station at about 2 a.m. and I called Greg to let him know that I was waiting. He said that he was already on his way. By car, our house was 20 minutes away, and that night it was snowing fairly bad, so I asked Greg to pick me up. I was alone at the station waiting for him. Around 50 minutes passed, but there was no sign of Greg. I was getting really annoyed and wondered what was taking him so long. I was also worried about him because I knew how bad roads could get when it snowed. After waiting for so much time, I decided to give Greg a call and find out where he was. He picked up the phone and I said in a cautious voice, Where are you, Greg? I've been waiting here for over 50 minutes. You should have been here in 20 minutes. I'll need some more time to come and pick you up, Megan. What? Why? You need to hurry up, Greg. The snow's starting to get bad. We need to go home and shut ourselves inside. It'll be fine, Megan. You just need to wait. I'm already on the road. Where are you? What's taking you so long if you're already on the road? At least give me a rough idea of how much longer you need. Well, it'll take another hour. What? What the hell are you talking about, Greg? Where are you? I'm on my way to get Mom from her sister's house. That sentence left me speechless. Guys, this man had left me stranded at a train station at 3 a.m. because he went to pick up his mother instead of me. I was in shock at what he said. I was almost alone at the station, and there were literally like 2 people around. And it was snowing pretty bad. The weather report even said that it would be a very snowy day. But instead of picking me up as soon as he could, Greg chose to drive to get his mother. I was furious, and I said, "What are you talking about, Greg? Don't tell me you're seriously going to pick up your mother while leaving me here." "Oh God, Megan, why are you acting so offended? I can pick up both of you. I went to Mom first because she desperately wanted to get out of the party. I wasn't going to leave her stranded there." "No, you aren't going to leave her stranded. She's literally in a house, and I am in a freaking train station. What is wrong with you, Greg?" "Will you please relax? I told you I would come and get you. This is a pretty safe city, and you are a grown woman. You'll be fine." "And your mother is a grown woman too, Greg. You didn't need to rescue her from her own sister's house, which is like 2 freaking hours away." "Look, I'm not going to abandon my mother just because you are scared of a little snow. Just come call an Uber if you don't want to wait. I'm hanging up now. I can't concentrate on the road with you yelling in my ear." Greg said that and hung up on me. I tried to call him back, but he wasn't picking up. I couldn't believe what had just happened to me. Greg had not only hung up on me, but also abandoned me at a train station. Did I mention that it was 3 a.m. at night and snowing? Well, it was, and I couldn't find a single cab in sight or on my phone. It was a nightmare for me. After a while, I got so frustrated that I started to cry. I felt abandoned and betrayed by my husband. I couldn't believe that he would do this to me. Time passed, and still there was no sign of my husband anywhere. I guess I was stupidly thinking that he was making a joke and would soon come to get me. But when it was already 3:20 a.m., I decided to give up and take matters into my own hands. My gut told me that there was something fishy going on, so I decided to call the one person who supposedly started this mess. I called my mother-in-law, Lisa. Lisa listened to my frantic call and sounded super surprised at what I said. She then revealed something shocking to me. She said, "What are you talking about, Megan? I'm not at my sister's house. I'm home at my house." "What? You're not at your sister's house? But that's where Greg told me you are. He said he was on his way there to come and get you." "No, Megan. Why would I drive over an hour to my sister's place when I know I might get snowed in? I wasn't going to take that risk." "Then why did Greg tell me that he was going to get you?" "It is clear that Greg has lied to you. He is definitely somewhere else." Oh God, I can't believe this. "I don't know what to say, Lisa. I'm stranded at the station and the snow is getting bad. What should I do?" "Don't worry, dear. I'm coming to get you. I've got snow tires on my car, so it won't be a problem." Lisa hung up on me and came to me as soon as possible. She drove to the station and stayed there because I was a crying mess. She even brought me a coat because I said I was too cold. When I was crying, she comforted me as best she could and took me to a nearby cafe that was open. She sat with me while I cried over a glass of coffee. She said, I'm so sorry for what my son did, Megan. I wish I had raised him right. No, it's not your fault, Lisa. It's Greg who should take all the blame. God, I just hate the two of them. I can understand what you feel, Megan. I still can't believe that he lied to you like this. You were almost freezing, Megan. Thank you so much for coming, Lisa. I don't know what I would have done. It's impossible to walk home in this weather. I wonder what was so urgent that Greg dropped you and lied to you like that. This is really suspicious. You know what? I can see his location since we share each other's phone locations. If he hasn't turned it off, I can find out where he is. I took out my phone and tried to see if I could see Greg's location. It was a long shot because Greg could have easily turned it off, but to my surprise, I was actually able to see where he was. And what I found out absolutely crushed me. He was at Cindy's place. Yes, my husband had abandoned me for freaking Cindy. I showed Lisa my findings and she was pissed as well. After another round of crying over her shoulder, I said, "This is it, Lisa. This is the last straw. He chose freaking Cindy over me again." Oh, God, what the hell was he thinking? I told you, Megan, there is something fishy going on between Greg and Cindy. Did you see those signs as well? I always knew he was bad news, Lisa. I tried so hard to make Greg understand my feelings and set boundaries, but he never listened to me. My son is nothing but a stupid idiot. He doesn't know how badly he has messed up. He shouldn't be treating you this way at all. You are way better than Cindy. He always does this, Lisa. I'm tired of his behavior. Every time he makes promises that he won't do this, still he ends up choosing Cindy over me. I can't take this anymore, Lisa. I can understand that, Megan. What he did today absolutely crossed all limits. It was very unsafe for you to stay at the train station so late, and that too in this horrible weather. I've forgiven him for a lot of things, Lisa, but I don't think I can forgive him for this. I'm done with him. What are you planning to do, Megan? I promise I will help. He really needs to be taught a lesson. I told Lisa what I wanted to do, and she agreed with me wholeheartedly. She was a bit sad for a reason, but I assured her that our relationship won't change. She was like a mother to me, and nothing would change that. That made her a little happy, and she even gave me a hug. Then Lisa told me her own plans for Greg, which I too supported. I had given Greg too much leeway, and he has shown me that he would never change. He claimed that he loved me, but he wasn't even going to make sure of my basic safety and run to his so-called best friend whenever she demanded it. He made his own choices, and I made mine. I stayed behind with Lisa and had a nice meal at the cafe. Thank God there was at least one cafe that chose to remain open even when it was dark and snowy. I was super hungry and needed a meal. Lisa also stayed back with me because she knew there was a confrontation waiting to happen. Meanwhile, 2 hours passed and soon I got a frantic call from Greg. When I picked up, he panicked and said, "Where are you, Megan? Are you still at the station?" "Yes, I am still at the station, Greg." "Okay, I'm almost here. You can come outside now." I told Lisa that Greg was almost at the station, and she gave me a wicked smile and walked me towards the car park. When Greg finally walked up to where I was supposed to wait for him, he couldn't believe his eyes when he saw Lisa with me. I saw how his face changed in shock, and soon nervousness set in. He was shaking from the cold and looked really panicked. He walked up to us and I said, "Hey, Greg, did you have a nice trip picking up your mom from her sister's house?" Well, tell me, Greg, when did I call you to come and bring me back from my sister's house?" "Even I am interested to know that now, Greg. Why did you lie? And what were you doing?" Greg had no answer. He was fidgeting and looking at the ground. Lisa and I stood there stoically while waiting for him to tell us exactly where he was. I was giving him a chance to come clean all by himself. He should have taken the chance, but he chose to lie instead. He said, in a nervous voice, "Oh, I was having some trouble with the car, so I stopped at a repair shop. I didn't tell you because I didn't want to scare you. That's it." Really, Greg? Is that what happened today? Yeah, what else would it be? You know that I wouldn't leave you stranded if it wasn't serious. I was really at a repair shop, Megan. Oh, is that so, Greg? Tell me then. When did Cindy open a repair shop? Greg's face became even paler when I mentioned Cindy. He knew that he had been caught. From his reaction, I could tell that he had forgotten about turning off his location, and it didn't even occur to him that I might track him. When I told him about Cindy, he was wondering how I found out, and he actually had the audacity to ask me. How did you know, Megan? How did I know? Well, you certainly forgot that I can track your phone and see where you are. You spied on me? That is wrong, Megan. Don't you dare try to turn this on me, Greg. I am the victim here, not you. After you lied to me and left me stranded like this, I had to know where you were. How could you do this to me, Greg? What can I say? She needed me to pick her up from somewhere because she was drunk. I wasn't going to abandon her. Oh, you had no problem abandoning your wife, but you couldn't do that for your friend. Is that what you're saying, Greg? Greg remained silent and didn't know how to answer my question. He knew he had been caught red-handed, and he also knew what he did was bad. But I don't think he really understood just how badly he had messed up. After some time, he just said, "I'm sorry, Megan. I shouldn't have done this. I promise this will never happen again." You can go to hell with your stupid promises, Greg. I don't want to hear them anymore. I'm freaking done with you. I won't tolerate this behavior anymore. We are done. What? What are you saying, Megan? What I'm saying is that we are getting a divorce. You and I will no longer be married. No, don't say that, Megan. I'm so sorry. Let's talk about it. Don't make any rash decisions. I swear I'll never do this again. It's too late for that now, Greg. We're done. This ends here. I won't be giving you any more chances. Greg started to beg me for forgiveness while I remained stoic. I wanted to scream and cry, but I didn't want to appear weak to him. Yes, I was breaking from the inside, but I wasn't letting Greg see that. He didn't deserve my tears. I was sincerely done with him and had decided to separate from my husband. But Greg wasn't willing to accept that. He begged me to take back my words. When he saw that I wasn't doing what he wanted, he turned to Lisa and sought her help. He said, "Mom, help me here. Tell Megan she's overreacting, Mom." "She's not overreacting, Greg. I think she's doing the right thing." "Mom, she's talking about leaving me. Will you support that too?" "Yes, I will support that too. You have been nothing but a bad husband. I didn't raise you like this. I can't believe the things you have done with Megan. Today you have crossed all limits. There is no coming back from this." "Mom, no, please help me. I can't lose Megan." "You lost her the moment you went to Cindy instead of her. Now you have to suffer the consequences of your actions. Megan is going to divorce you, but that's not all. I have decided to kick you out of the house and go no contact with you for now." "What? Mom, why are you doing this?" "You use my name to do God knows what with another woman. I can't overlook that, Greg. Besides, I don't want to associate with a man who has no regard for his wife's safety. I didn't raise a man like that, and I don't want to be in his life." Lisa's words absolutely broke Greg. He hadn't realized that one single day would end up destroying his marriage and his relationship with his mother. He was a crying mess as he begged us for forgiveness. We ignored him, got in our car, and went home. Lisa strictly told Greg not to come back to our home, so he didn't do that. I'm pretty sure he went to Cindy's house that night, but I didn't even care anymore. I didn't want a man who didn't value me or my safety. I didn't even check his location on my phone. I simply went home and had a good night's rest. Lisa also accompanied me because she didn't want to leave me alone. I was glad for her presence because it brought me some comfort. The next day, Greg showed up to the house to beg for mercy again. He never admitted to any offense, even though Lisa begged him to tell me the truth. Greg maintained that Cindy was only his best friend and he didn't love her. He kept saying that he loved me and would do anything to bring me back. Too bad I wasn't falling for that crap again. I told him that we were done and he would get divorce papers soon. After hours of trying to change my mind, Greg finally collected some of his things and left. That day itself, I went ahead and talked to a lawyer to start preparing for a divorce. Lisa helped me out with that as well. Greg was served divorce papers just like I had said. He went mad for a short while and started to beg me all over again, but I stopped responding to his calls and texts. Instead, I told him that he should only contact me through a lawyer. He tried to show up at my work but got thrown out by security. He harassed me at my house for a few days until Lisa and I threatened to call the cops. In the end, he realized that no one was on his side. He had cut off Cindy from his life, but still, I didn't change my mind. Maybe he did love me because he didn't go running back to her after all. How did I know? Well, Cindy sent me some nasty texts about taking Greg away from her. That was satisfying to read and made both Lisa and I laugh. So, Greg and I are divorced now, and I haven't talked to him in a while. The last time I saw him was on the day we finalized the divorce. He looked broken and had thinned out a lot. I also got to know that he moved into an apartment on his own. Since he worked a higher paying job than me, he was giving me alimony. I was willing to let it go, but surprisingly he told me to keep it. He was acting all sad and dejected, but again, I didn't care about it at all. I went on with my life, and I'm actually still living in Lisa's house. I'm building up my savings to buy a house, so Lisa insisted I stay at her place rent-free for another year. She visits me often, and we have lots of girl time. She rarely talks to Greg and doesn't even visit him anymore. Maybe their relationship would improve later, but one thing is for sure, Greg and I are done. Hello guys, I'm Ellen. My story is about my husband who tried to leave me because I wasn't rich enough for him. You must be wondering why. Well, I'll tell you. It's not like I had magically lost my job or did something financially bad. It's just that I never went to college, so I didn't have a very high-paying job. I had a decent income, and my husband Rick knew that from the beginning. I didn't hide anything from him. Rick was someone with a high income but had lots of student loans from his college, so he and I actually had a similar lifestyle. At that time, Rick didn't think it would be a problem, so our relationship progressed as usual, and we finally decided to get married. Shortly before we got married, Rick did tell me that he wanted to sign a prenup. He said that since he had a pretty high-paying job, he had a fear that people would use him for money. He also explained that he didn't want me to be shackled with his loan, so he wanted us to have a prenup. Look, I knew I wasn't a gold digger, and I found it a little disrespectful that he didn't trust me, but I didn't deny his request. I agreed to the prenup, and thank God I did. It saved me later in my marriage. Troubles in our marriage didn't start until we found ourselves with no place to live. Our landlord told us to leave because he was selling the house, and since the housing market was horrible in our city, we had to move in with my mother-in-law, Natalie. Now, let me be very clear about one thing. My husband is the only problem here. Natalie was a cold woman who didn't care much about me, but she wasn't one of those nasty mother-in-laws you read about. She was a little annoyed that she had to host us for free, so maybe her behavior towards us was a little bad, but we managed to get along just fine. Somehow, after moving in with Natalie, my husband started to show resentment towards the fact that I couldn't help him buy a house. Since he had student loans, he couldn't qualify for a loan, and I didn't have the means to pay a down payment. So we were stuck in a bad place with very limited housing options. We still had a decent life until Natalie sprung some shocking news on us. She said to us one day, "You two need to move out of the house and find a different accommodation. I won't be able to house you anymore." "Why, Mom? What's the problem?" "I can't keep up with my mortgage payments anymore, so I have decided to sell the house. So you need to find other accommodations." "But we have nowhere to go, Mom. We can't get rent with whatever money we can spare." "That's not my problem, Rick. Since you two cannot help me with the mortgage, I would have to sell this house. I'm giving you plenty of time to come up with your own solutions." Natalie just said that and let us fend for ourselves. She didn't want us to move out immediately, but said that once she found a buyer, things would move fast. Suddenly, Rick and I were starting to worry about our housing situation yet again. He got very frustrated that night and started to blame me for his troubles. He said, "Why can't you get a better job? You earn so little, it's not enough for us." "What can I do, Rick? I don't have a college degree, so this is the best I can do." "You don't even have enough savings for a down payment on a house. If you weren't this lazy, you could have worked 2 jobs and got the money." "I can't work 2 jobs, Rick. I have to do everything around the house. You don't even help." "It's not my job to help, Ellen. We have a roof over our heads because of me, and now even that will be gone. I don't know what I was thinking when I married you." Rick's words hurt, and I started to cry. We had a bigger fight, but calmed down the next day. I was really bad for both of us because I knew he was stressed. I set aside my own emotions and started to form a plan. I had made a small investment which I could break to provide a down payment on a house. I talked to some friends and they were confident that I would qualify for a mortgage. When I discovered that, I immediately began to form a plan. I wanted to get a house for me and my husband, and I knew exactly what would be the best way to get one. I had been planning to buy Natalie's house. I found out her asking price and realized that I could afford the mortgage. Actually, I had very little experience with these things and didn't realize that I would be able to buy a house. Once I was sure about my finances, I had to decide whether or not I should approach Natalie with an offer. When I had already made the decision, I contacted Natalie's agent and set up a meeting. I wanted it to be a surprise for my husband, so I didn't want to tell Natalie anything directly. So I met up with her and her agent at a cafe. She was really surprised to see me and said, "Hey, Ellen, what are you doing here?" "I'm here to see an interested buyer for my house. I didn't expect to see you here." "Yes, I know that, Natalie. I am your interested buyer, actually." "Wait, what?" "Yes, I want to buy your house." "What? You're saying that you want to buy my house?" Natalie looked at me like I had grown 2 heads. She had a hard time believing that I wanted to buy her house. I won't completely blame her for this reaction. My husband had always downplayed my job and complained to her that I didn't know how to save. Rick had painted a very bad picture of me to his mother. So when I told her that I would like to buy her house, she was in disbelief. I wasn't offended at all. Instead, I just calmly told her, "I have managed to save up for a down payment, and I will take a mortgage for the rest. It won't be a problem. You can also continue living here rent-free as a thank you for helping us out when we needed it." "But I don't think you can afford it. I have a hard time believing you." "Well, I have good credit score, so I can easily qualify for a loan." "Rick can't do that because his debts have crippled him. So I am the only one who is in a position to buy a house. Won't you be happier if the house stays within your family?" "Yes, that is true, Eleanor. I guess it would really be better if I sold it to you." "Think about it, Natalie. You need the money and I need a house of my own. This is like the best deal ever. All you have to do is agree to sign everything over to me. I will take care of the rest." "Okay, let me think about it." "Sure, you do that, Natalie, but I have one request." "Can you not tell Rick about this? I want to surprise him with the house on our first anniversary." I see. Okay, then I won't tell him. I will get back to you once I think about your offer." Natalie went back home while I went to work. I was really excited to buy her house because I knew Rick would love it. He really loved his mom's house because it was big and quite spacious, so I was sure he would have approved of what I did. Besides, if he didn't like the house, he could easily buy one for himself once his credit improved. We had separate assets, and the prenup also reinforced that, so he could buy another house if he wanted. I happily went back to work and waited for Natalie to make a decision. Things were normal for a few days, even though Rick was even more distant than before. I knew that he was stressed about our living situation, and that was what was making him so distant. I tried to comfort him and give him hope, but he just got mad at me and told me to leave him alone. I was a little hurt, but didn't say anything. I was still holding on to the hope that things would go back to normal once I was able to purchase Natalie's house. Even if she had said no, I would have found a different house for us anyway. With that hope in mind, I put up with my husband's bad mood, but everything would change for me when I stumbled across some papers. I think you guys can guess where this is going. Yes, they were divorce papers. I was in complete disbelief when I saw those papers. I read through every page to make sure it was meant for me, and yes, they were meant for me, but I wasn't meant to find out about it. It was hidden away in Rick's office bag. I had opened his bag to take out its lunchbox and instead stumbled open those papers. I was curious when I saw those papers because I knew they were court documents. He didn't work in law, so I had no idea why he had court documents in his bag. My mind froze, and I went into shock when I realized that they were divorce papers for us. I had no idea why he was divorcing me, but I knew that I couldn't confront him right then. I never told Rick that I knew he had filed for divorce. What I did do was snoop through his phone to find out what he was up to. I suspected that he may be having an affair, so I thought checking his phone would give me some clues. I know it's wrong, but I was desperate and it was the only way. So I snooped through his phone and found texts between him and his best friend. The things my husband wrote about me were awful. He called me useless, good for nothing, lazy, and a bad wife. Why? Because I wasn't buying him a house and didn't have the money to do so. He was mad that I wasn't some rich girl he could depend on. Apparently, some rich girl was flirting with him on Facebook, which made him think that he could do better. I was shocked to see those texts and immediately knew that my marriage was over. But that didn't mean I was going to leave silently. Oh no, I was going to make my husband pay for this. That day, I thank God for making me sign the prenup. It has saved me more than it saved Rick. You want to know why? Because Natalie secretly met me the next day and said that she was ready to sell the house to me. She said, "I thought about it, Eleanor. I guess you are the best option right now. I don't have much time left anyway. I can't make next month's mortgage payment, so you need to take it up as soon as possible." "Sure, Natalie. You can draw up the papers and I will get a lawyer right away. Believe me, I do not want to wait either. The anniversary is only a few weeks away, you know." "Yeah, I remember that's why I made the decision fast. I've already told my lawyer to draw the papers. It will be in your hands soon." Yes, I bought Natalie's house anyway, guys. It was a really good house and I wanted to get back at Rick for what he was planning to do. I had made some plans of my own that were going to make him regret his actions. I was breaking from the inside because the man I loved was planning to betray me in the worst way possible. But I didn't let it show. I was a little sad, but Rick didn't bother to care. I guess he had already checked out. of the marriage and was enjoying the attention of the rich girl on Facebook. Anyway, I slowly stopped caring till the papers were signed for the house. After that, I simply wanted my revenge and then to get rid of my horrible husband as soon as possible. Thankfully, I was able to get the house in my name before our anniversary. On the day of our anniversary, I didn't even bother with a celebration because I didn't want to waste money on a failing marriage. I know that some of you have arranged parties and confronted their husbands publicly. It is a nice idea, but for a woman who had spent almost all her money on the down payment of a house, I wasn't looking to spend any extra. So I acted like it was a normal day, even though I had wished my husband a very happy anniversary. He had grumbled something in return and left. Now, the confrontation didn't happen until the evening when we both returned home from work. To my surprise, Natalie had invited a few family members to celebrate the day. I guess she was feeling generous after receiving money for the house, so she called a few family members and cooked some food. She generally looked a little excited for us. I was kind of touched by this, but Rick immediately got angry. He said, "What is this? What's going on?" "Oh, I just invited family so that we can celebrate your anniversary today. It is your first anniversary after all. I saw that you two didn't plan anything." "That wasn't necessary, Mom. Eleanor didn't plan anything because she never had money, and I didn't plan anything because I wasn't interested in celebrating our anniversary. This marriage has come to an end anyway." "What do you mean, Rick? Why are you saying that your marriage has come to an end?" Rick didn't bother giving his mother a reply. Instead, he turned to me and looked me dead in the eyes. I knew that this was when he would tell me that he was leaving me. And I was right. He looked at me and said, "I don't think I can be in this marriage anymore, Eleanor. I'm going to leave you forever." "Why, Rick? You can't just spring news like this upon me and not tell me why." "The reason is very simple, Eleanor. You are an absolutely useless wife to me." "Oh, really, Rick? Tell me why you think I'm useless." "You were not on my level, Eleanor. I worked such a great job and you were just an embarrassment to me. You can't even help me buy a house. I don't want to be with someone who can't help me get the things I need." "It's not my fault that your credit is bad, Rick. Why should it fall on me to get a house?" "Because we're a couple. I know you are not rich, but I thought maybe you would be able to buy me a house at least. But now I don't even think you'll qualify for a loan." "I can't stay with a woman like that when I can do so much better. I will at least find a woman who has the means to have her own house." "So, you're leaving me because I'm not rich enough for you. Is that so?" "Yes. I don't care what you think, Ellen. Don't try to stop me. I won't be with you. I'm done." "Very well then, Rick. If you think that and know that you can get someone better, then go ahead and leave. I will happily grant you a divorce." "Good. You need to move out soon then, because this isn't your house. Mom, you need to tell her to leave and find her own place." Rick now looked at his mother, hoping she would agree to kick me out, but he hadn't expected my mother-in-law to look pale and startled. She was shaking because she knew exactly how much Rick had messed up. She was the only one who knew that I had bought her house from her exactly a week back. The papers have been finalized, and now I am the sole owner of the house. So even though Rick wanted his mother to kick me out now, she couldn't do it. Natalie remained quiet and didn't say anything at first. Then Rick kept telling her that she needed to tell me to move out. And that's when I said, "I think you're barking up the wrong tree, Rick. Natalie cannot actually kick me out." "Why the hell not, Ellen? This is her house, so she can kick you out." "Actually, you're wrong about that, Rick. This house doesn't belong to her anymore." "What do you mean? My mother is the owner of this house." "Nope, she's not the owner anymore. I am the new owner of this place." "What nonsense are you spewing, Ellen? This cannot be your house." "It is my house, Rick. If you don't believe me, why don't you ask your mother?" "Mom, what nonsense is Ellen saying? Did you give her this house or something?" Natalie actually looked too afraid to say anything. She remained frozen while the rest of her guests looked on. Rick was absolutely sure that the house was in no way mine, so he kept hounding his mother for an answer, and after a while Natalie meekly said, "Yes, it's true. This house is hers now." "What? No, that cannot be possible. Did you suddenly grow charitable and give away the house to Ellen, Mom?" "No, Rick. I don't need anyone's charity. I bought the house all by myself." "I don't believe it. You cannot afford this house. You cannot even afford the down payment." "What would you like to say to that, Natalie?" "You're wrong, Rick. Ellen has actually bought the house from me. We finalized the paper last week, and she was planning to surprise you today with the news, but it looks like you have ruined it." Natalie confirmed what I had told Rick, and his eyes went wide with shock. He couldn't believe that I was able to save up and buy the house. He had clearly underestimated me and was proven how wrong he was. When the realization dawned on him, he immediately understood that he had messed up. He then tried to change his tune and said, "Oh, wow! That was a great surprise, Ellen. I didn't know that you were saving and planning on buying Mom's house." "I can see that, Rick. Natalie's right, though. You have completely ruined my surprise." No, we can still celebrate." "Celebrate what, Rick? Our divorce or your exit from my house?" "What are you saying, Ellen?" "You wanted a divorce, right? You will get it. I won't be in a marriage where my husband wants to leave me because I'm not rich." "Come on, Ellen. I was mad and said some stupid things. We can talk about this and get past this. The main problem has been solved already." "I don't think so, Rick. Besides, you went through all the hassle of secretly securing divorce papers. Too bad I had found them out 2 weeks ago and prepared my own papers instead." Rick looked on while I drew some papers out of my work bag. I handed him the papers and he started to see what they were about. You can tell that he wasn't happy when he saw that they were eviction papers. His hands shook, and he looked at me with tears in his eyes, and he said, Are these eviction papers?" "I thought you read what these papers are, Rick. Since you have a hard time reading simple English, let me confirm it for you. Yes, they are eviction papers for you and Natalie." "You're kicking us out, Ellen? But where will we go? Don't do this, Ellen. Let's work this out." "Don't make me laugh, Rick. You want to go find a rich girl, right? Get on with it. I'm sure she'll have a place for you to stay." "I said things out of anger, Ellen. Please, don't hold it against me. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that you were working hard to get us a house." "Nope. This is my house, Rick. You have no claim to it now that we are divorcing. We got a prenup, remember? Thanks for that. Now I have a house to myself while getting rid of a horrible husband that was you." I said what I had to say and remained quiet. Rick absolutely went mad in panic and started to beg me to forgive him. He started to tell me how much he loved me and knew that he had messed up. Suddenly, staying with a no-rich girl was appearing lucrative to him. He was begging me to stay with him when a few days ago he was preparing for divorce. He had even made a show of tearing up the divorce papers in front of me. I simply laughed and told him that I could always file them myself, and that made him cry and fall down on the floor to beg for mercy. Natalie also joined her son in trying to convince me. To her, I was no longer an annoyance. She was really banking on the fact that I had offered to let her stay in the house rent-free. But now that her son and I are divorcing, that isn't happening. I even prepared eviction papers in her name so that she could not throw a tantrum. I got them done on the day the house was transferred to my name. Natalie knew that the only way for her to live anywhere rent-free was to beg me to stay married to her son. But sadly, for both Rick and Natalie, their wishes weren't coming true. In the next few days, Natalie and Rick continued to pester me to forgive Rick. Since family members were present when everything happened, they knew the truth about Rick. No one was willing to take them in after that. They even berated Rick for being such an evil man and left the little get-together early. Now that Rick's own family has turned their backs on him, he begged me for mercy. But he wasn't going to get any. I simply ignored them and kept reminding them that they had a month to move out. Rick and I got divorced no matter how hard he tried to stop it, and Natalie and Rick had to also move out of my house once their 1 month grace period was up. They tried their best to convince me, but I wasn't moved. Rick and I went for a mutual divorce because Rick couldn't afford to contest me in court. Since we had a prenup, the divorce was fairly smooth, and I kept the house and got no alimony. Rick kept his debts, but ended up homeless. He and his mother had to get an apartment together to save money. From what I have heard, neither of them are doing very well. I don't have any pity for Rick, but sometimes I feel bad for Natalie, who isn't as bad as him. Anyway, I have a house now and can finally live a good life without having a husband who constantly demeans me. Hello there, people. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Mary and my husband is Aidan. He is the absolute love of my life, and I want to make it very clear that he is not responsible for his mother's annoying behavior. Aidan is a decent man and loves me a lot, so I don't want to blame him for anything, and I request you guys not to do that too. So, Aidan's mother, Violet, is a very weird woman. I never thought she hated me, but definitely had some issues. From the very beginning, she had some sort of competition with me because we worked in the same field. She also seemed to be jealous of the fact that I have a college degree, but she doesn't. Before I married Aidan, we rarely saw Violet, so her behavior wasn't a really big problem. But as we moved to her small town after she got suddenly ill, a lot of things changed. I could clearly see what a big show-off Violet was. She was constantly telling everyone about her high-paying job and rubbing her wealth in her face. When we first moved in, she made fun of me for having a low-paying job. She said, "It's so sad that you had to settle for a low-paying job. I understand that not everyone is qualified to work a high-paying job." I did have a high-paying job, Violet. I had to leave it because we moved here and the position wasn't remote. That's why I took a pay cut and settled for a lower-paying job. Whatever you say, Mary, it's just that you have a fancy degree and all and still can't earn well. You should learn something from me. I live in a small town too and have one of the highest-paying jobs here. I don't make excuses, Mary. I actually get what I want. Violet continuously made fun of me and rubbed her wealth on my face. I too belonged to a fairly well-off family but didn't like people knowing that, so Violet never knew that I had more money than her. Anyway, I was at a very bad place in my life because I had to sacrifice a good job and move to Violet's town. When the woman we moved for became the problem, my mental health took a hit. I constantly felt like a failure because I couldn't find a suitable job in the town. So Violet's comments really hurt me. Aidan had tried to talk to his mom and make her change her behavior, but nothing worked. She continued flaunting her wealth and rubbing it in her face that she had a better job than me. A year passed and nothing changed. I was still stuck in my old position and had no other job that was suitable for me. I was growing frustrated, but there was nothing I could do. During that time, an unexpected thing happened that changed my life. But before I tell you what happened, you need to know about this exchange I had with Violet at one of her parties. Let me tell you guys, Violet loved to party and often invited ladies around town to her house. Aidan and I were also invited, but we didn't attend all the time. The last time Aidan dragged me to the party, convincing me it was fun, it was the entire opposite of fun. He reached the party, and as usual, Violet paid very little attention to me. I kept to myself, but joined the conversation when they talked about something other than Violet's job. But the topic went back to Violet's job, and she started to flex the fact that she had a high-paying job in our small town. I was dreading this discussion because I knew Violet would find something snarky to say to me again. And I was right, guys. Violet started by saying, "So the company is being taken by a new owner. I heard they will finalize the papers tomorrow. You know how I'm friends with the CEO, so I get all the information firsthand. I also heard some rumors about me getting a promotion once the new management is in place." "It would be nice if the new owner promoted you. You are already working in a good position, so they might want to promote you after the new owner takes over the company." "I am actually sure that will happen, Aidan. I have been talking to the past owner and he said that he would put in a good word for me. I'm sure he'll ask the new owner to make me a CEO. Won't that be great?" "I'm sure it would be great, Mom. You'll be a top employee in the company. That's what you always wanted." "Don't you have anything to say about this, Mary?" Violet turned to me with a smirk on her face and intentionally targeted me out of the blue. I was keeping out of the conversation because I knew who was taking over the company and didn't want to reveal it to anyone. So I kept quiet and didn't join the conversation. But Violet would not lose this opportunity to try and humiliate me. So she directly questioned me. Aidan immediately looked nervous because even he knew that his mother was intentionally doing this. He was already embarrassed and his face turned grim. I simply smiled at Violet and attempted to keep the conversation light by saying, "I'm very happy for you, Violet. I'm sure your work performance will help you get a nice promotion. We will have a big celebration when that happens." "Oh, you don't have to act so innocent, Mary. I know you're jealous of me." "Excuse me? What are you talking about, Violet?" "You think I don't notice anything, Mary? I've seen how you look annoyed and dejected when I talk about my work. I know you're jealous because you work a low-paying job. With all due respect, Violet, I am very happy at my job. Yes, I had to take a pay cut to work from home, but what can I do? There aren't a lot of jobs around in this town, so I had to choose a remote job." "There is no reason to be shy, Mary. You can just say that you're not qualified enough for a job. I live in this same town and still have a way better job than you. I guess that college degree of yours is really for show. I don't have one, but look at me. I'm wealthier than you and have a way better job." "As I said, Violet, I'm really happy for you. I'm glad you found a good job despite not having a college degree. As for your wealth, I don't have much interest in it. I do pretty well for myself." "Oh, I have seen how you try to compete with me and get expensive things to match my lifestyle. You need to stop doing that, you know. You need to preserve your little income just in case you get kicked out of your job. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, but don't go out of your way to compete with me." Violet knew exactly how to twist reality and use it to her benefit. She had no idea that I came from a rich family, so every time I bought something expensive, she would think I was trying to imitate her, even if I didn't have her wealth. She was making it out to be like I was really competing with her and trying to one-up her. It was super embarrassing and everyone around us was giggling. It was a party with Violet's friends and most of them were like her. Besides, no one wanted to piss her off and risk not getting invited to her grand parties, so they just laughed along with my mother-in-law while she made fun of me. I was so embarrassed and felt so humiliated that I wanted to dig a hole and bury myself. I didn't even know how to stop Violet's nonsense. Thankfully, my husband was on my side and said, "No one is competing with you, Mom. You need to watch how you talk to my wife. I won't allow you to continually disrespect her like this." "Relax, Aidan. I'm just looking out for both of you. I don't want you to be hooked to debts just because your wife is dead set on competing with me. She needs to stop being so jealous and work harder to get a better job." "I'm working hard, Violet. I'm better qualified than you and can definitely make more money if I want." "There's no need to lie, Mary. I get it that you're embarrassed, but don't take it to heart. I know you will never reach my level. We will see, Violet. You may have a very high-paying job now, but there is no guarantee for the future. I know that I can get a better job than you, and one day I will show you that. I was so mad at Violet that I said those words and left the party. Aidan also followed me and left with me as well. On our way back home, I started to cry on the road while Aidan drove us back home. I felt utterly humiliated at the party and knew that Violet had successfully painted me as a jealous woman. I had to defend myself, but no matter what I said, there was no denying one fact. Violet had a better job than me. I was crushed because moving cities and taking a pay cut did affect my confidence. It hurt a lot to work in a low-paying position after working so hard in college. I did it only because Aidan wanted to stay closer to his mother, who didn't have anyone else. We actually sacrificed a lot and moved to Violet's town because of her. But she was being nothing but a nasty witch to me. When we reached home, I was still a crying mess. Aidan brought me inside the house and hugged me a little while I cried. He then said, "I'm so sorry, Mary. This is all my fault. I shouldn't have insisted on going today." "Your mother is a horrible woman, Aidan. She tried to paint me as a jealous person. I don't know why she likes to demean me every time she sees me." "I guess Mom is just jealous of you, Mary. What you said was true. You can get a better job than her, but you had to step down because you moved here with me. She's also jealous because you were smarter and actually went to college. It's something she is scared of anyway." "I don't know how much longer I can take her horrible behavior, Aidan. I don't care why she's doing this. I just want it to stop. It's already a sensitive topic for me, and she keeps rubbing it in my face. I feel horrible for doing this to you, Mary. You moved here because of me, and now you're being humiliated for no reason. I tried to talk to my mom about this, but you know how she is. She's just full of herself." "I know, Aidan. I don't blame you. I know you moved here because you wanted to be close to your mother. I have seen what our recent health problem did to you. I don't blame you. But I am blaming myself, Mary. I feel terrible. You know what? We should avoid seeing Mom for a while. It would be the best under the circumstances. She needs to be on a timeout." I was glad Aidan suggested that. I really didn't want to face Violet anymore. I was really mad at her and didn't want her around. But there was another thing I had to worry about. If I encouraged Aidan to keep Violet away, she would use this opportunity to call me jealous again. It was an overall horrible situation, and I didn't know what to do. I told Aidan to sleep on it that night while I too took time to wonder what I was going to do. There was a plan in my mind, but I didn't know how to go about it. I was determined to show Violet that she was nothing compared to me and teach her a lesson about her own vanity. I knew what I could do, but needed to be sure about my decision. The next day, I got a call from my father. His name is Dave. Dad called me after buying a new company and taking it under his wing. He always called me after closing a big deal because he wanted me to be proud of him. It was a little tradition I had. He called me this time as well and said, "Hello, my dear daughter. How are you?" "I'm doing fine, Dad. How are things on your end?" "Guess what, Mary? I closed the deal on the company I've been talking about. I bought it today." "Congratulations, Dad. I'm so proud of you. This is another victory for your company. I'm sure you'll be able to expand it much more this year." "Oh, I will do that, Mary. I wish you worked with me, though. You didn't have to be so stubborn and work elsewhere for experience." "It's all for you, Dad. I'm working hard so that I can make you proud when I finally work with you." "I hope it happens soon, my dear. I must admit one thing to you. This is why I bought the biggest company in your town. Otherwise, maybe I wouldn't have bothered." I was surprised to know that my father had bought the company because he wanted me to work with him. If you are confused about what happened, let me explain it to you guys. You see, my father had actually bought the company that my mother-in-law worked at. I knew that from the very beginning. I didn't tell anyone because Dad didn't like telling people these things before the deal was closed. So I didn't even tell Aidan, let alone Violet, that the company was being taken over by my father. Now that my father had told me about the deal being signed, I could tell Aidan about it. But first, there was another important issue that I needed to talk about with my father. I said, "Dad, you are really getting desperate to make me join your company." "What can I say, Mary? I miss you, and I wanted to have this special experience with you. I have been thinking about making your mother-in-law the CEO at this place so that we can keep the high post within the family. She already works in a high position there anyway." My God, Dad, you really do think about everyone. Only you can see your daughter's in-laws as your own family. What can I say? Your family is also my family. So what do you think, Mary? Should I make your mother-in-law the CEO? My father was just trying to look out for me and bought this company so that he can be closer to me. I knew that he was offering my mother-in-law the job only because he thought I was interested in taking it. I did tell my dad that I wanted more time the last time we spoke, but now I had an entirely different plan in mind. I smirked and said, "Actually, Dad, I don't think you should give the position to my mother-in-law." "Wait, what? You don't want me to make your mother-in-law the CEO?" "No, but you can make me the CEO instead." "Seriously, Mary? You would take that position? Don't tell me you're joking and playing with your poor father's feelings." "I'm not joking, Dad. I want to work in your company now. I think I already have enough experience now. Besides, I don't want Violet to be the CEO at all." "Oh, why's that, Mary? Did something happen?" "Actually, a lot of things happened, Dad." I went on to explain to my father what happened with Violet. I told him the whole story that I never told him before. My father can be very protective, and I didn't want him to be rude to Violet when he came to visit us. Besides, I rarely shared my personal troubles with my dad because I didn't want to bother him. But this time, I had to tell him what went down between me and Violet. My dad patiently listened to me and was pissed at Violet by the time I was done talking. He said, "What in the world, Mary? I had no idea that your mother-in-law was so condescending. She's a nasty woman." "It is what it is, Dad, and that's why I don't want her to have the position of CEO. If you give me that position, I would have a chance to show her that I can be her boss." "What do you mean by if I would make you the CEO? The position is all yours, Mary. You would have been the first choice. I only mentioned Violet because I thought you weren't ready to work with me." "I do feel ready, Dad. Maybe I was just scared of the responsibility. I didn't want to let you down. But I think my fears are irrational. I'm ready to tackle this new position. I feel confident." "That's my girl, Mary. I know you will do great. Don't worry. The position of CEO is yours." I talked to my father some more and then hung up on him. He was supposed to drive to my town fairly soon for a takeover party and to have a meeting with the management team here. This was the time when Dad had planned to reveal that I would be their new CEO. Their old CEO was actually being transferred to our city branch because he was good at his job and deserved a better position. He was super happy to switch with me because the move had increased his salary. In the following days, I ended up telling Aidan the whole story. He was super happy for me and actually chuckled when I asked him if he was mad that I took the position from his mother. He simply told me that his mother had managed to get a high-paying position only because she knew the previous employee personally. Even my husband thought that I deserved this more than her. I was just glad that he wasn't mad at me. That would have ruined my whole experience and set me back mentally. Anyway, the day of the takeover party soon arrived. I attended the party, but Violet didn't. So she still didn't know who took over the company and the fact that I was her boss now. When she saw me at her office waiting for the big meeting, she looked surprised and said, "What are you doing here, Mary?" I guess you haven't heard it then. I am part of this company now. I see. Well, the low-paying employees have their desks on the ground floor. You can find your desk there. Actually, my office will be here, and I have a meeting here in like 5 minutes. Is this some kind of a joke? Don't try to fake your job just to one-up me, Mary. This meeting is only for the higher-ups. We will meet the new owner and find out who is replacing our old CEO. I guess you don't know this too, Violet. Well, you don't have to go to the meeting to find out who is the owner and the new CEO. Let me tell you, Violet, I am the new CEO. What? No, that is impossible. You can't be the new CEO. Why not, Violet? I'm more qualified and even have some experience. Besides, the owner is actually my father, so it's natural for me to be the CEO. Are you telling me that this company belongs to Dave? That is impossible. Nothing is impossible, Violet. You like to flaunt your wealth, but not everyone is like that. My family is actually pretty well off and owns several companies. I never worked there because I was collecting experience from other companies, but thanks to you, I got the push to finally do what I need to do and become the new CEO here. No, this can't be true. These are lies. I told you that one day I will get a better job than you. Looks like I did it, Violet. Now, you can go cry to someone else and try to tell them how they are insecure and jealous of you. Violet opened her mouth to say something, but she was cut off when my father entered the room with other employees. He poorly greeted Violet while she stared at him in disbelief. She looked like she was about to pass out. Dad swiftly ignored her and started the meeting. When he finally introduced me as the new CEO, Violet's eyes went wide. She eyed me in envy, and whenever I was not looking at her, she even left the party soon after and didn't stay long. I guess she was embarrassed because her words had come back to bite her. I became the new CEO of the company Violet worked at. She had a hard time having me as a boss too. She was actually not a very good performer and was only in the company because of the previous owner's friendship. When I took over, I gave her several warnings to improve her work. She went crying to Aidan and said that I was bullying her. When she explained to him why I had scolded her, Aidan sided with me and told Violet that she was being unethical and wasn't doing her job well. In the end, after multiple mistakes, I had to demote her. She wasn't happy about it and cried to everyone, but now no one wanted to go against me because I was the most respected woman in the company. Eventually, we settled in pretty well in the small town. In a twist of events, Aidan and I ended up going in low contact with Violet after she continuously blamed me for demoting her. We tried to explain our reasons, but she didn't listen. In the end, this, along with her previous behavior, made us have low contact. Aidan is the one who checks up on her sometimes, but even he is put off by Violet's behavior. We are now planning to move cities after 4 years once Dad's company is making good progress here. Then we would be moving to my dad's city so that I could take over his main branch. Violet found out and is throwing a massive tantrum right now. Thankfully, even Aidan isn't listening to her anymore.